everybody, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Sarah, and together we are two of the co-founders of Whale Tales, a living library of cetacean stories.
Today we are welcoming a special co-host to help give us an update on the summer in the Salish Sea.
So sit back and enjoy as we dive right in.
Hi, Ashley.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Thanks so much for jumping in and filling in and catching us up.
Thanks for having me back.
So if you've listened to some of our past episodes, you might have heard Ashley on before. Ashley is a whale watch naturalist here in the Vancouver area who's been on the podcast a few times. And she's going to give us a bit of an update and maybe share some cool stories. Since Nicole is away on parental leave at the moment, we thought that we would have Ashley on and have an update on the 2021 whale watching season.
This year was super cool. We had some tea parties, so we've got lots of bigs hanging out together. We had lots of humpback moms with babies, which was really, really cool.
That's exciting.
It was particularly a magical season for humpback mom and babies, for sure. That population is just clearly still on the up and up, which is fantastic.
Yes, definitely.
Nice. And also sounds like the bigs were also on that same trajectory this year anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've had some years where we've seen more babies with them, but definitely it was still a big year for them. But yeah, the humpbacks this year, I think we had locally... I think there was 18 moms with babies.
Wow.
I think last year it was 11, and I think the year before that might have been 7. That's just locally, so that's not like...
Yeah, and that's like also how many you saw come through, not...
Yeah, and that wasn't like just me personally. That was, like throughout the Salish Sea and the whale sightings for sure. But we did get to see quite a number of them up by me, which was really cool.
So fun. So fun. Was it a bit more back to normal in terms of tourism and whale traffic, or was it still quieter compared to previous years, not counting last year?
I would say it was still a little bit quiet, but it was a bit more back to normal. Not at the beginning, but when was it? Probably... maybe around the end of July, August, we were able to kind of open up a bit more. We didn't have to have as many, we were restricted to passenger count on the vessel for the beginning, and then that got lifted. But we decided as a company to keep masks mandatory regardless of us being on outside boats and all that, because you just couldn't give space. So
no. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
For people who aren't here, like July, August was kind of when things here started sort of opening up in terms of like reducing capacity limits and things like that in all industries. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely better, and it was quite amazing because we had a lot more local traffic, which was fantastic. Because it's funny how many people still don't realize that you can do whale watching out of Vancouver. And we've been around since 2006 personally, I believe. So a long time.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it's definitely tourist in your backyard kind of times. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But, like people who have, family visiting or friends visiting, they tend to still, I think, take them over to Victoria to do any kind of whale watching.
Yeah.
But we're here.
Exactly. Yeah. It's cool. My brother-in-law and nieces were in town for most of the summer, and he's like, "Oh, we should go whale watching." And I'm like, "They are 3 and 5. They cannot go whale watching yet." In 5 years, let's talk.
Yeah. It depends on the boat, but for sure.
It does depend on the boat, but they're little and they don't have that attention span.
Totally. Yeah. It's cool for the first 2 minutes, and then they're, what's that?
How about you try taking them on the Falls Creek Ferry? And see how that
We're still at the sea bus. The sea bus is exciting enough.
All good rides. All good rides.
Yeah, exactly. Was the border open for you guys?
The border, I don't think it ever really closed for us, but we fully respected that our U.S. counterparts weren't allowed to come across, so we didn't go down, and we didn't have to. That was, I think it just is a reminder that we have plenty of whales up here. We don't actually have to cross the border to go see something, and so I think sometimes it's always tempting, because if orca are down there and that's what your passengers are all begging to see, but it's not orca watching, it's whale watching, and that's the same for all of us, and we hope that everybody realizes how much of a privilege it is to see any whales out there. But some people definitely want something specific.
Of course.
Other than orcas and humpbacks, did you see anything cool?
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess
everything's cool, but
yeah, totally. Yeah. They're cool in some people's eyes and not as cool in other people's eyes. I've been doing this for 10 years, and it was my first year with my company actually getting to see gray whales on our trip. I know the first season I started, I wasn't on the boat as much, so I know that they were seeing gray whales that year, but I was never on the boat when we got to see them. So, and I know we've had gray whales in English Bay, but never on one of my trips was I.
That's so strange.
Yeah. So I've seen, grays from the seawall, but not from my boat until this year.
That's so funny. Grays are like the number one thing that I've seen from boats.
Yeah, that's what I would have. I would have expected it to be totally normal. They're everywhere, and they're so boring.
We were very excited about them this year, Lindsay.
I'm sorry. I'm very biased. I had a lot of really boring hours of my life staring at gray whales. So
when you don't see anything all the time, they're excited. Anything can be exciting.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Totally. And it was really cool because I got to reach out to Cascadia and got to figure out who two of them were. I haven't sent all my photos to them yet, so hopefully we'll get some IDs on the others. But yeah, I can't give you names because they were just numbers.
I don't know. Gray whales. They made nothing. So where were they?
Off of Sandheads and off of Point Grey.
Oh, yeah. So kind of like similar on the way in, although we didn't get any in here this year. But we also got a lot of bigs up Burrard Inlet, so maybe.
Yeah. And there was a rumor of a gray going through Dodd, which was really, I was like, ooh, what a weird spot for one of those guys. I mean, I feel like it's weird whenever I hear of any other whale going through there except for bigs, so maybe I'm just biased.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like gray whales kind of just go wherever they feel like it.
It's true.
Yeah. If it's shallow, they go.
Sounds like there were some off the Sunshine Coast a fair bit this year too, so.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, my parents were up on a water taxi on the Sunshine Coast, and their water taxi driver was saying that, yeah, they'd seen all kinds of stuff. Anything else other than grays?
Those were the only whales that we saw. Lots of porpoises, obviously.
Yeah, you can talk about porpoises. We like porpoises and dolphins.
I mean, we get to spot harbor porpoises pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Which is always really cool. Everybody gets super excited thinking it's something else.
Yeah.
And of course we just keep going because otherwise they're like, oh, I'm scared. You spotted me and I'm gonna disappear. So people are like, they're over there. And I'm like, yeah, it's a porpoise. But it's super cool. I love them. But and I haven't seen Dall's porpoises in quite a number of years up here. They're definitely around. I haven't had the chance to spot them the last few years. But this year we were in Northumberland Channel. But the T-46Bs were traveling in there, and all of a sudden, like they were kind of super elusive and being weird. I was like, okay, this is typical Bigs. And then all of a sudden they popped up way ahead, closer to the Duke Point ferry terminal. And all of a sudden we just saw these flying orca. They were chasing dolls.
Nice.
That's cool.
So
That's
amazing.
I finally got to see a Dall's porpoise hunt. It wasn't like the most epic Dall's porpoise hunt where you see the porpoise flying or anything like that, but it was still pretty awesome, and it was my first time getting to see them chase those guys, being, you know, that they're so fast. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who don't know, we had a pretty intense heat wave, or heat dome as they like to call it, where it got unseasonably ridiculously hot here for about a week. How was that for you on the boat?
It was definitely hot. We still went out though, because one of the nice things was, you know, you're out on a boat, you're on the water, going fast. It was probably the only place I was cool. Until, of course, we stopped with whales, and then it's like, you know,
A hot ocean breeze.
It's a hot ocean breeze.
Yeah.
And the Zodiacs, you know, you're stuck in those suits. So
and
yeah.
masks.
Yeah, so it was extra. But as soon as you got going again, it was great.
Yeah, and I guess the whales don't care. Yeah,
It was worth it.
Yeah, I just have memories of being on a boat when it was 115 Fahrenheit, so almost as bad.
Yeah.
And coming back on the boat, but the air was hot, and I was like, this is what it's like in a microwave, maybe? So it's not always better on a boat. Sometimes it's just not good anywhere.
That's fair. No, but here it was still better on the boat. Yeah,
and I guess the ocean, because it wasn't hot for that long, so the ocean water is still cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that was kind of like the big weather event of the year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
we had a ton of stormy days where we ended up having to cancel too. So I think this year's weather, I don't know if it's the weather itself. Yeah, probably the weather itself, but also the weathermen. I don't think I've ever seen the marine forecast. I mean, it's always, you know, little hit or miss, but I think it was so much more so much more miss this year than I've ever seen it personally.
Yeah, like less predictable maybe.
Yeah, well, like just some of the reports that basically said, you know, we should be able to go out no problem, and there was a couple times where we had to cancel, like at the, almost not quite at the dock, but like in the office after people had checked in, because the weather never came down. And then when you looked at the next forecast, it was like, it was completely different from what it was just the previous forecast that was out. Yeah.
That's no good.
No, it was rough.
I mean, it's better than being out in unsafe conditions.
Oh,
so.
100%. But it's always so funny because like the wind conditions here in Vancouver are not the same as what's out in the Strait of Georgia.
No.
But there's a lot of people you just can't convince of that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful here. Why are you canceling?
Well, see that large piece of land? It protects us from...
I mean, it's fair enough if you can't, you know, you don't understand but that's always one of the funny things that we get to deal with.
A challenging customer service situation.
Yeah. Most people are really good.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be on that boat anyway.
No,
you're going to feel gross and you're not going to be able to see anything.
And I don't want to deal with the seasickness for you.
Exactly.
I'll be fine, but you won't.
Oh man, so crazy. Well, we'll come to maybe your favorite whale tale of the season later in the show. But any other standout things? And I can cut this if you don't have anything else standout that you want to share.
Just trying to think here. I mean, there were so many really cool encounters. I'd say one of the cool things was that we had at least 3 2-year-olds hanging out up here this year. So we had Hammer, we had Graphite, and we had Scuba. And Scuba and Graphite one day were totally buddied up, and we're checking out the boats a little too close, but you know, typical 2-year-olds.
So humpbacks?
Yeah, humpbacks. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, you don't know them by name?
I mean, I'm working on it,
Not
but
the 2-year-olds.
Oh,
no.
God.
Later into September and stuff, did you see some Resies?
Yeah, we very, very quick glimpses because, because we're not allowed. But yeah, one day we had them, just below Sandheads, and we were quite a ways off. We could see lots of surface activity, so we were pretty certain that they were Resies, but the bigs have sort of been acting like that when they get in a big group nowadays too, so you can't necessarily say for sure. But yeah, I got some open saddle patches and had a quick hi bye.
Yeah. That's good.
It's really cool to see them. I just, you know, you sort of they've I think I might have said this before in another one of your podcasts, but they've slowly become familiar strangers, and so there's a few that you're like you know, and you're never gonna forget them, but there's ones that you don't see as often or didn't see very often when we were allowed to watch them, and so they look familiar, but you're not immediately like, well, at least I'm not immediately like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah,
but
their quick ID has been replaced by other quick IDs.
Like they've completely flipped, like, on how you recognize them and stuff.
Totally. It used to take me longer with bigs than now.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we've definitely had this conversation before because transient is such a inappropriate name, especially now. But so, like, who are some of the families? I know Stanley and his guys. I totally just forgot our number, even though they're like my favorite bigs. 123s. They're always around here.
Yeah, but they're always around here at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. They don't tend to, or at least currently, they're still not really in the area in the middle. Although I think they were seen down south a bit this year. So
yeah, I saw something about them recently.
Summer vacation.
But I can't remember where.
Yeah, well, and the 137s seem to be hanging out down there more than they've come up this way, which is really sad. But I did get to see them this year a couple times. So we had a day, I can't remember what month it was in right now. Might have been in August, where we had them with the T65As, I think the T37s. There's a bunch, and it was really cool because it's not very often I get to share new information with Gary. But there's like 3 of them that have new nicks in their dorsal fin. So I quickly sent some like back of the camera shots to him and being like, is this new? He's like, yes. And I was like, yes.
Gary's gone up north. He was gallivanting with his drones this summer.
I know. He's not been down on the water over here as often. He misses it, though, I'm fairly certain.
I bet.
Although he loves what he's doing, too, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. It's an amazing thing, but it's just so different.
Yeah,
so.
100%.
Yeah, and again, new whales.
Yeah. Well, and so what's cool about those guys getting together, not only did I see the new nicks in a couple of them, but both Jack and Ukstra, T65A2, yeah. I don't know why I have to think about that one every time. Because I just expect him to be T65A1 for some reason. But they were both doing like some pretty high tail lobs. So I got some photos of Jack doing it, and you can see kind of where his injury was, but how well healed over it is. So I'll be excited to share that with the researchers too.
That's sweet. Well, thanks for all the awesome updates.
I know, we're getting, again, it's totally flipped, at least in my head, of who's around all the time and who you're expected to hear about and stuff.
Yeah,
so
and I think
it's so weird.
I think slowly they seem to change their pattern a little bit too. So we'll see how consistent they stay. But I feel like they're throwing us on our head a lot this year with like the different family breakups and get back togethers and then re-break up again. Like the 49As. I don't know what's going on with those guys.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, they're in a space that they have space and they have food and they're just procreating like healthy animals are supposed to do. Yeah. So I guess things are just
changing. Yeah. It's just really funny.
And maybe getting more used to being around human stuff too, like
maybe. I don't know. It's just super weird because like with the like T49A1 and T49A2 have started hanging out. So they left mom and now it's just the two boys, two bros hanging out.
How are they gonna find a lady if their mom isn't there to help?
That's just it. Well, and the T77C and D, so Alcyon and Neftali, those guys also left their family and then were hanging out with T49A2, Jude, and Noah for a little bit, T49A1. But I don't even know if we know if those guys are boys or girls, so no idea what's going on.
But yeah, I mean, the breaking up of families as they get bigger like makes sense in terms of like finding food and being more sneaky, but still. But
it used to be strange. The ladies, the female cats with their babies that were like, "Yep, it's my turn to be in charge," or at least that's what we assume.
Yeah,
but now I don't know. It's and even some of the really young ones. We had some young ones go AWOL.
I wonder if it's like a temporary thing of like,
I don't know.
You know, you go off, get big, and then come back and be like, okay, I'm ready for a family
Whatever.
now. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, that's what those sperm whales were doing. Remember we had that fun fact about sperm whale juvenile males going off and hanging out together until they get big. Of course, with sperm whales, it's like 15 years or something because they have to grow so much.
Yeah. But yeah, they just go off and have these like sort of bachelor groups that sort of are very transient and then
which is very much like elephants, so that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of the sperm whale stuff when we talked about sperm whales reminded me of elephant behavior, which is cool. Oh, and then more recently, I know it's not really where you look for whales, but they had the cheese in Cole Harbour, like in the
right in the docks,
the float plane docks, and then also at Horseshoe Bay.
Yeah, I wonder if that was the same whales, because it was the same day.
Do you know who they are? I haven't seen any IDs.
I think there was. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not. I haven't had a good look at the videos, and I think they're a little bit hard to ID from. But I think the Horseshoe Bay ones, they were thinking they were T49A1 and A2.
So
the Horseshoe Bay ones were more, the photos were more side on, but they weren't super good from the side. The Cole Harbour float plane ones were kind of more from above, so I could see. It would be pretty hard.
It's hard to tell.
Did you see how many animals were in the Cole Harbour one?
No, all the pictures I saw only had one at a time, but they were really grainy. Yeah,
they're all phone.
That's the downside to the shore based.
The shore based and also like
the off the fly
rises.
Yeah, they were definitely like from buildings looking down, look down into planes.
How lucky is that though, hey?
Well, but it's one of those things if somebody texted me and was like, "Hey, I saw killer whales at Horseshoe Bay," I'd be like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
There was even those humpbacks in there like a few days before, so
yeah,
which is crazy because we went by there looking for those particular humpbacks, but we didn't go into Horseshoe Bay
because they were
of course not.
They were in, so we missed them because they were full tucked in. That was really
so silly.
Well, that goes back to the gray whale because that was a story that Nicole and I told ourselves for like 5 years, that because there was a gray whale sighting
Science World
in like 2010 or something, all the way up Falls Creek, and we're like, we're gonna see one after we moved down here. And then it was,
I think it was before 2010. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we saw one because it was like 2015. Nicole had moved, so too bad for her.
She missed out.
She missed out, and there it was, majestic in the sunset.
Didn't a humpback go through there too at one point one year?
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah, and there's been a humpback. A humpback was up Burrard.
Oh yeah.
2 years ago?
Yeah. I heard.
We had some stories about that.
I think even last year.
I don't know. Last year has no meaning.
I know.
So.
It's sort of.
Well, awesome. That was great. I am sad that I didn't get out on the water other than the ferry, but
I know.
someday.
We'll have to get you out next year, maybe.
Okay, so heading on to something a little different now. It's time for, well, the Fun Flipper Fact.
I'm not
Sorry,
singing
guys.
it.
Yeah, no, we're not
There's
singing
no singing this episode.
Doesn't mean we're less excited about our Fun Flipper fact.
No, if you want to sing, please sing it to yourself. And we all know that when Nicole is listening to this at home with her giant new
certainly
baby,
will be.
she will be singing it, and then we'll probably get a text message saying, "Why didn't you sing this?"
Well, because nobody can do it. Nobody can do it like she can anyway.
This episode's Fun Flipper Fact was voted on by our Patreons, and so our patrons this month picked minke whales. Yay!
I love minkies. I feel like we haven't talked about minkies much on the podcast, so
No, not really at all.
yeah, makes sense that our fact is just like a basic intro to minkies.
Yeah, so they're the second smallest of the balines, and smaller than some toothed whales. They're about 7 to 8 meters average, although they can get bigger, of course, because that's how whales work. There's a lot of taxonomy stuff around them. That's our favorite topic here on the podcast. So technically there are 2 species, the common or northern, and then the Antarctic and southern. And then the subspecies of the common minke, there are 3 subspecies of the common minke, the North Atlantic, the North Pacific, and the dwarf minke whale. North Atlantic and North Pacific I kind of get. Dwarf minke whale sounds like it should be its own species, but again, we'll just put it on the list of things to say when we go to the whale species people and tell them our grievances.
Maybe it'll be like the planet, dwarf Pluto, and it keeps going back and forth, and new things are coming, and maybe that'll be the minke version, dwarf minke version.
Oh man. It can be a little bit hard to tell minkies apart from other whales just based on their size, because it's hard to judge exact size on the water, but minke whales have these white mittens or patterns on their pectoral flippers, which is great. There's also, the age-old, not whale watching game, but out on a boat of is that a minke or is it a log? Because they are slow moving, pretty solitary, they have pretty low-key behavior. Usually it's a log, by the way. Almost always.
You almost always.
Yeah. That's like a fairy game for sure.
Yeah, and they are also sometimes called stinky minkies because they have a powerful blow and smell carries over the water. Ashley, can you report on that?
To be fair to minkies, I haven't experienced the minky stinky business. Humpback stinky business I have, but I've heard that minkies are worse, so...
Interesting. Yeah, I've had humpbacks and grays, and it's none of it is good.
No.
So if minkies are worse than those ones, I don't want to.
Or maybe it's that they're proportionally worse, they're smaller but their blow's bigger, so therefore
maybe
I don't know.
Their dorsal fin is quite far on their back too, which is kind of helps with that log.
Yeah, you don't really see dorsal fin until they're on their way down.
Yeah, you won't. It's there it is, and it's gone. You know, because it's so far back.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, maybe one day, if we have anybody interested in minkies, we'll do a minke whale specific episode.
I know a few people. I'll send them your way.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have some stories of minke whales over on their website, including some breaching ones, because those are always the standout stories, because otherwise it's and there was a minke. Similar to our gray whale stories. We saw a gray whale today.
Well, it's not my story, but there apparently recently, just like this past week, the T2Cs chased a minke in Harrow Strait for like 10 kilometers or something like that.
Oof, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The minke won, by the way. It got away.
Good job, Minky.
I mean, it's definitely a win, but I think that minke, when the whales gave up, was apparently still like porpoising.
Oh, I bet.
For it. Ooh,
like,
geez,
I'm out. Gotta go.
Yeah, that's another one of our stories is that minke had them when the Bigs got the minke in Ganges Harbor.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of.
From a long time ago.
Yeah.
We've got that story on our website, and that's
I think we've heard that story in person from a couple people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the T11s and T12s?
I think so. It was a long time ago.
I think I remember that one.
On the subject of stories, Ashley, do you have a whale tale or standout encounter from this season that you'd like to share?
I do. I do want to preface this by saying that the story I'm going to tell is not something that happens regularly. It's not something that we seek out. It's not something that we try to put ourselves into this kind of situation. But sometimes with humpbacks, they come and check us out. And this year we did have Slate and her baby. And her baby is crazy. Like, just full lunatic. So we've nicknamed him Malachite. So Slate's baby this year is a boy. He's got this really cool patterned tail that, will change over the next little while, but hopefully he'll retain some of that because it's a really neat tail. Fluke, excuse me. But he just couldn't seem to, like, we basically stopped trying. Like, if we saw or heard that those guys were around, we started to sort of avoid them because he's so insane. And he's a real good case in point of other people out on the water not knowing how to behave. Other vessels on the water not knowing how to behave when a humpback comes that close to. So my first encounter with him this year was a mugging encounter. So we just didn't have any warning. We were with him and his mom, and they were traveling normally. And all of a sudden he turned right around and came right up to us. And at first mom sort of came with him. And then she sort of was like, "Oh, you can babysit. He's all yours. I'm going to go over here." And I think, like, normally we only spend an hour max with any of the whales that we hang out with. And I think we were there for probably an hour 20 plus, maybe, because he wouldn't leave us alone. Couldn't leave. Shut down. Stayed shut down because he just kept circling us. At one point, I even got to see, or more than one point, he sort of turned and was looking at us, so you could see his eye through the water. Amazing. Yeah, it was super cool.
So crazy.
So yeah, he's insane. And unfortunately, of course, it wasn't when, or at least I don't know when his injury happened, but he's got propeller scars already. He's a baby. Still learning his word. He still hasn't learned. So it's just a reminder. So the reason I chose this story, yes, it's a cool interaction, but it's also a way to remind everybody that if you are out on the water, it's really important to be super careful. Go super slow when you are around whales. Obviously, give them the distances that you have to. And if you do happen to know the whales out there and you've got somebody who tends to be more of a mugger, give them extra space. And if that doesn't work, then just shut down and wait for them to move off, because there's no stick big enough to be like, "Hey, humpback, get out of here."
Yeah.
But
turn your engine off and be boring.
Yeah, just wait for it. We all joke that, Two Spot has a criminal record because of the the YouTube video from the lady down in Puget Sound who called 911 on Two Spot for mugging her. But, you know, it's so important to remember that they're not trying to attack you. They're just checking you out. They're curious. They're friendly. They're, you know, they're exploring. And we're in their world. So it's important that we remember that and just let them do their thing. We can wait. Yeah. He's a lunatic. I mean, maybe Malachite isn't the right name for him.
I like it. I think it's cute. Because his behavior might change. Hopefully will change.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And we won't have to call him El Loco. Yeah. But, so his nickname is Malachite, which is a type of stone, since mom is slate and her 2019 calf is graphite. So we're a stone family.
All the rocks. All the rocks. Yeah. Amazing. Well, I guess that's almost the end of our episode. Before we wrap up, we wanted to just wish everybody a happy Halloween. And maybe share some ways that you can have a more sustainable Halloween. So one option is to have like larger chocolate bars rather than like a handful of those mini chocolate bars. Just get one big chocolate bar for everybody.
Yeah, and then you'll be the cool person on the block.
You will be the cool person.
Favorite house for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're looking for something a little bit smaller, you could find things that come in cardboard boxes. My parents did chips last year.
Yeah, chips are good.
Yeah, and chips are good because you can recycle that soft plastic.
Yeah, and they don't have palm oil in them. Usually.
Exactly. So that's the other thing is if you still have time, you can check out what's sustainable chocolate and other kinds of treats. We'll put a link in the show notes, but basically there are different kinds of chocolate brands that do use sustainable palm oil, which is better than than using unsustainable palm oil. And, you know, but juice boxes use no palm oil, so that's also a better choice. But,
you know, we've been talking a lot about doing local. I was just going to say, like, if you can find something that comes in a trick-or-treat appropriate size that's made locally, that would be a cool option too.
Yeah, and then, of course, if you have time, we know there's only a couple more days left, but sustainable costumes, sustainable plastic-free bags, like, I don't know why people went to plastic bags when pillowcases are always a good option.
Yeah.
They're so much more strong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can fill that thing to
so much more.
to the point of you not being able to carry it, and it's fine.
Exactly.
And they sell these like fancy bags, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I know.
You have
like a pillowcase at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab a king size one. You never run out of space.
We had like the orange, like the classic orange
those
pumpkin
buckets.
ones.
Yeah, we had those for
buckets.
like my whole life.
We had those for like forever, and that's the thing, right? Like you buy one, like those ribbons are plastic, but if you buy one of the bags, even that's forever. Like just
don't buy any one every year. Yeah, dig out your Halloween stuff and see what you got, especially for decorations or costumes. It's a little late for costumes, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, and if you've got a pillowcase that is, getting towards the end of its life, you could always take markers to it, like fabric markers, and make it your own.
Yeah,
make it the perfect Halloween trick-or-treat bag.
Exactly.
Oh, well, those are some good Halloween ideas. Thanks, everybody. If you have other Halloween or sustainable ideas, or if you have other thoughts about our podcast, you can visit our website, whale-tales.org, and there you'll find links to our various social media handles, so you can drop us a line.
Yeah, you can also tweet at us directly. I am FHG07, and Sarah is Sarah K. Given, no H. And you can follow Ashley on Instagram at Vital Ocean, VITAL Ocean.
You can head to our website to subscribe to our podcast, check out our merchandise, learn more about supporting us and becoming a patron, and read over 1,000 whale, dolphin, and porpoise stories.
That's whale-tales.org. Tales like the stories, and not tales like the animals.
And if you've seen a cetacean, we would love to add your story to our library. Click on the share link on our site, contact us on social media, whaletales.org, or email us a voice memo and tell us all about your incredible encounter.
And don't forget to check out all of Ashley's stories on our website. She's on the left-hand menu under Storyteller. She's got tons of great stories, including that Greywell Sunset English Bay story.
Yeah, that was super cool.
From 2015.
Amazing.
So thank you for coming, Ashley. I'm sure we will have you back soon.
Thank you.
Because you have amazing stories. And we'd love to hear from you and get our annual report on the goings on out there.
On the Salish Sea.
And thank you all again for listening and supporting us. And we hope you have a whaley great day.